on Smartboard. But that's correct. Review assignment number 1. Hello, podcast people. Welcome. We miss ya. Look at everyone in class is crying. Don't cry, you guys. You'll be back soon. Just relax. Hold it together. All right, this is 3B. So these are questions that the class said that they want me to do. This is the hint where you divide by 2 or 3, and what do you get? 121, which is 711. And you get 77, or add 3. Check. Yeah, lots of nods and thumbs, that's good. This is 3. Oh, I also just said you don't need to know sine law or cos law for the midterm. So just right triangles are on the midterm. There are no non-right triangles. You do not need to know sine law or cos law. You do not need to know 5 and 6 on the review assignment 1. I think there's one on review assignment 2. That's for the midterm. I'm not saying that for the exam. But for the midterm, you don't. This is the heading rationalizing. And we cannot have radicals in the denominator, so if you have a radical in the denominator, you multiply by the radical in the denominator. So radical 6 divided by radical 6, which is 40 radical 6, and we know that the shortcut, radical 6 times radical 6 is 6, or you can go square root of 36 and then turn it into a 6. But the shortcut's very helpful in grade 11. Now you cannot cross the 6's out because one's a radical and one's a number, so that doesn't work. But you can divide the numbers, you can reduce the numbers. So you divide the numbers, you cannot divide a radical, so you don't divide this radical 6 by 2. So your final answer for multiple choice would be that, fully simplified, so star that one, because you might get to here, but you need to get to here. So you reduce. Always see if you can reduce after you rationalize. Half the time you can, half the time you can't. Nacho cheese. Is the same thing. So I'm going to talk you through this one. So first, multiply not by the whole denominator, just by the radical in the denominator. So multiply everything by radical 11 over radical 11. If you don't do that first step, you get no marks. Okay, so this is the first step, and if you do this first step, you automatically get a half mark because you're telling me you know how to rationalize. And now multiply the bottom, top times top, and the bottom times bottom. If you have a number times a radical, you can't multiply numbers and radicals, you just push them together. 3 times radical 5 is 3 radical 5. That's what 3 radical 5 means, 3 times radical 5. So negative 2 radical 11 is just that, and then the 5 is here, and then radical 11 times radical 11 is what? Good job, 11. And then you are allowed to multiply 5 times 11 because they're both numbers, and then you just see if you can reduce. So if the 55 was a 56, you could divide by 2, but you can't. So that's that. That's called rationalizing. Anytime, so no radicals in the denom, said Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount. O is m plus 7 nacho cheese times 4 muchacho. Subtract 7 nacho cheese, subtract 5, 9 muchacho, nacho, muchacho, nacho. So that's a flaw. I like that one. I'm not going to distribute the negative 5. because FLA is way easier. And this is a FOIL. So you get 4m squared, and be careful with, and I'm always going to put the m's and the n's in alphabetical order. So even though this is 28nm, I'm going to put 28mn so I can collect them. And then this is subtract 49n squared, subtract 5, and when I FLA that, that's what I get. Now I'm going to distribute that. I might as well collect these right now, and then I'm going to have to collect again. Now I'm going to distribute and see if I can collect any m squares, any n squares, and middle term I just did collect. I'm going to put the m squares first, then the middle term, and then the n squares second. Anybody get that? Oh, good job. Good job, good job. Lots of sign mistakes you can make. Again, please don't leave it as NM. NM is MN. 3 times 2 equals 2 times 3. You can just switch the letters in alphabetical order so you can collect like terms. Now I'm probably going to forget, so can you tell Mom to email me like you had that you're broadcasting? Yeah.
Because it's addition, could you switch the 31n squared and the 21nn? And would it still be
Yeah, you could, yeah. I'm not going to worry too much about this for order, but they'll probably be like this on a multiple choice. So just as long as you know it's the same thing. If it wasn't a multiple choice, I'll mark it right. Okay, and P for pineapple. Yuck, who would ever have that on a pizza? Does anybody here ever eat pineapple on a pizza? What? Doesn't make any sense. Do you also pour chocolate syrup on your pizza? No?
Cookie pizza. Cookie pizza.
Oh. Come on, man. Pineapple on
Dessert pizza, I do. Gotta have some sort of healthy food.
I think I need to call someone for help. Okay, this one I'm not going to write down. This one you just add exponents. And that's all you do. You don't FOIL. Now, if it said rewrite with a positive exponent, which it probably would, this question, then you got to write down, you got to bring your negative exponents to the denominator. So that's that would have been a better question to simplify this and keep your answer with positive exponents. So write that down. Positive exponents. Any negative exponent has to go 1 over the positive, so your positive exponents go in the denominator. All right. I'll pause that, podcast people. Okay, podcast people, get ready to write. So this is factoring test questions. I just changed the numbers, and these questions are right from the test. So do these. We'll get you the answers. If you don't have the answers posted on Google Class, because there was no attachment yesterday, I forwarded to whoever wasn't here. So if you don't get these answers, just email me, and I can get you the answers very quickly after you email me. But they might be posted on, hopefully it'll be posted on Google Class, so I don't have to worry about any of that. But it'll probably be the last thing I do. And the first thing you have to do is post the podcast, which is usually at lunchtime. What's the area, if that's the length and the width? And the GCF of 4x cubed y, subtract 12xy to the 7th. F on is factoring. Pause if you didn't get those down. I'm gonna go to next. I already told these kiddos that this is GCF. This is GCF. This is the difference of squares. This is some product. Also do J and K, and K is decomp. Factor 2x squared plus x minus 6. Alright, pause, pause, pause. When you're done those, you can unpause and we'll have some more questions for you. Okay, podcast people, here's some more questions on factoring tests. This isn't a question, this is a reminder of how to do a perfect square trinomial. Perfect square trinomial. So if I say 36x squared plus kx plus 81, find k, you have to recognize that you can square root the first and last term, so you can write it like this. Take the sign of the middle term. And you also have to understand that k means what's the middle term. So now you rewrite and FOIL this, or use the perfect square trinomial shortcut. You'll get a 54x plus a 54x. So the answer is k equals 108. Now it's a multiple choice question. So having said that, here's your numerical response 1 question. 4x squared plus kx plus 25 is a perfect square trinomial. Perfect square trinomial is something that can be written as anything multiplied by itself. What does k equal? Numerical response 2. Factor 50x squared, subtract 8. How many factors? Pause if you haven't got that yet. Moving up. Numerical response 3. 7x squared, subtract 8x plus 9, less than 4x squared plus 3x subtract 4 is ax squared subtract bx plus c. Find a subtract c. The written response 1 says area of a TV is x squared plus 5x plus 6. What's the length and the width? And find the dimensions, which means length and width. If x equals 10 centimeters. Written response 2, as I write it here, is simply 2x plus 3 all cubed. Simplify that. Pause, pause, pause. Okay, so we just looked at a radical test. Now we're going to give you some radical questions that were on the test. Sure. So this is a radical test, and we're just going to do them, you guys. I'm going to just change this one. X to the negative 2 equals 1 over 25. What's x equal? So it's kind of working backwards on this one. You have an answer? Good job. 5 is correct. So you can look at this 1 over, that's the negative part. Now we need to rewrite the 25 as a square. So 25 is what squared? 5 squared. So if you put x as 5, does that equal 1 over 5 to the positive 2? Okay, so it's like working backwards. We don't usually do it that way. We usually end up with that as a final answer. And they're just asking you, what would the question be if that's the answer? Okay, so, or you can just guess and check, but you should recognize that 25 is 5 squared. So you got a good chance of getting that right. We'll just put that as A, I guess. B, okay, let's go, I'm not sure, don't really care what number goes here. Just tell me, this is a multiple choice question, is this 7/3 or 3/7? You can't guess. So which one's the denominator, everyone? The 3 is the denom. So you have to know how to go back and forth from radicals. And that's an easy question, you guys. If you got that one wrong, well, make sure you don't get it wrong on the midterm and exam, please, because that's not going to be a hard question. What I would classify as a hard question. Now, we had something like this. In fact, we had exactly this on the test. And it says simplify and first of all, this is the only one that's completely simplified. 80 is 16 times 5. 80 is 16 times 5, and square root of 45 is 9 times 5. So your eyes should go immediately to D. It's probably that one. So if you divide this by 5, what do you get? Do that on your calculator. What's that divided by 5? Somebody? Yep. You say 1,296? Is that what you said? Okay, now if you square root that, you should get 36, and then we're done. And is that what the square root of 1,296 equals? 36 and 36? Yes. So that you could have took a lot of time on, but just by looking at the answers in multiple choice, neither of these are fully simplified, A, B, or C. D is the only one that's fully simplified. In fact, if you're nutso, you could just look at D and say, yeah, that's the one. But I wouldn't do that. I would make sure the math works out. Why doesn't that? Right, there you go. B, so similarly, you had one of these, and you had a radical 8, you had a radical 64, and you had a radical 20. It wasn't those answers. It was, I think it was 64 times 5, yeah, which is 8 radical 5. Make sure you take the biggest one. I'm going to, you guys got that? Move up to E. There we go. Probably too much. No, not enough. Oh, yeah. Okay, so E. I don't know. Let's just give you something like that. This one, leave out in front. This is not 4 times 4, the exponents you multiply, but 4 to the 4th, this is a base, and this is an exponent. That's what you have to do and put in right there. So what's 4 times 4 times 4 times 4? Or just on your calculator, it takes you 5 seconds, 4 exponent 4. Oh, I missed that one. So that's how you do that one. Write it down. what exponent is this? That's a 7. Is that x to the 7/8, or 8/7, or negative 7/8, or negative 8/7? Well, again, a question like this, as soon as you see 1 over, you should immediately cross out the positive, because 1 over means negative exponent. It has to be a negative exponent. It says 1 over. So now it's a matter of, is that the denominator? Yup. So it's this one. Still got 5 minutes, right on. All right, let's go ahead and do these two for me. I don't know, maybe I'll do them. I'll just give you the difference between 49/64, a negative 1/2, and h 8/64. No, I don't want to do 8/64. 8/27 to the positive 2/3. Okay, one's a shortcut and one's not a shortcut. No one should be doing nothing. We need 5 more minutes, please. Write these down. And the difference is one has a negative exponent and one doesn't. One has a negative exponent is the one you're going to flip. So I'm going to just coach you on this one. Maybe that's how I'll do it. We'll flip this one and keep the positive exponent. Okay? So go ahead and do that before I do. I wouldn't mind you doing this one either. Just to make sure that's an easy question. I want you all to get it right. If that was on the midterm or exam. Okay, so this one you flip. And remember that the exponent of 1/2 means square root. So you square root the top, you square root the bottom, and you're done. The answer is 8/7. This one, you don't flip. You just put the exponent of 2/3 to the top and 27 to the 2/3 to the denominator. And then you have to remember, does that mean square root or cubic root? That means cubic root. So I'll do the top one for you. You do the bottom one, and then you simplify it for me. So your final answer should be a fraction. Cubic root of 8 is 2. Cubic root of 27 is 3. And then you square them to get 4/9. Remember math karate? How do you got? That was not very enthusiastic. Negative exponent means 1 over the positive exponent. 1 over 8 to the negative 2 is 1 over 8 to the positive 2. Okay, review assignment number 2 is due tomorrow. And podcast people, if you did review assignment 1, you should be emailing it to me so I can give you marks on the midterm. So do that today, please, as soon as you see this podcast. And same thing with podcast or review assignment number 2. God bless, an awesome day.